Well, welcome back, folks. It's actually a couple days later. I took yesterday off, had some other things I wanted to take care of around the house and yard, so we're 2 days later. I have tidied up around the area a little bit and got myself organized. We're going to go ahead now and complete the final breakdown in the various sub-assemblies for the Suzuki TS50 project. If you recall from the last video, there's just a handful of major items left to do. Of course, we're going to pull the engine, remove the front and rear wheels and front forks, rear shocks, the bracket for the front fender, which is right up under here, the horn, the ignition switch on the other side, which I think I had forgotten to mention in the last video as I was wrapping up. So that's what we're going to go ahead and take care of today. We're just going to finish the breakdown, and then depending on how much time that takes for this video, I might then go into reviewing some of my discoveries. I did find a few things I want to talk about. If that video is long enough, I might break this into 3 sections and pick up that review of my discoveries in part 3. We'll just have to see how the timing goes here. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start first with removing the fender bracket, the horn, and the ignition switch, which will be very brief. Of course, those are very easy to do. Then I'm going to remove the engine and get the weight off the frame before I go ahead and pull the wheels off. Before I go ahead and drop the engine out, I thought I'd explain a little bit my setup here. You can see the motorcycle jack I've got aligned underneath the engine. It's supported in 2 places. At the front I've got some scrap wood blocks there, you can see, just supporting the front of the engine. And then in the back there's a vertical piece that's supporting the back of the engine, so it's supported like that in 2 places. I could have used a floor jack for this, but this jack is smaller, it's easier to handle, and it has multiple points of support, as you can see here, so that's why I use this. Especially when you're working alone, it's a little easier. The engine is loose. I put just enough upward or vertical pressure upward to take the weight off the 3 motor mount bolts. They're all loosened up, as you can probably tell. There are three, as I alluded to, motor mount bolts. Two of them here and here, at least right now, are set up to pass through from the left to right. Now, whether that's original or not, I don't know. And then the top one right here passes from the right to the left. So all I really need to do now is pull the nuts off and the washers, pull the bolts out, and the engine should drop right out. Wiring harness is disconnected. There's nothing else holding the engine in place except those loose motor mount bolts. It's a few hours later now, and we've completed the initial major breakdown of the little Suzuki, and you can see in this shot are all the parts that I took apart in the last few hours. You know, the engine over here to the far left, swing arm, rear hub, rear shocks, front forks, right there, front wheels and tires, headlamp ears. You can see there the bearings for the steering stem. Got the steering stem right over here, just propping the frame up for now, etc. So this is the last of the major assemblies. The frame is now bare. I think I'm going to call this video a wrap here. The observations piece that I want to take you through, I do have some detailed notes that I've been making as I've been going, and some things I want to share with you, my discoveries as I've been going along. And I think this video is probably going to be long enough here by the time I edit it down. You'll see over here to the left in that plastic tub are a lot of the smaller assemblies that I took apart in a previous video, and you can see the seat here and then some of the body work, etc. It came apart about as I would have expected. I didn't have any really major problems with it. One quick observation is the ball bearings for the steering stem have been apart recently and been freshly greased. That grease, that pinkish red grease on those bearings is fresh, so I'm guessing the previous owner probably had that apart and greased those. And it looked like he put it back together just like he should have. Whether I keep those bearings or not, I'm not sure. I'll have to check the races and see if they've been beat up. Quite often those races in the steering stem get indentations from being pounded, you know, over jumps and that kind of thing. But teenage kids, and it beats up the races pretty bad. And you can probably still get races and ball bearings, but if I have to replace them, I'll probably go with an all balls unit. I don't know yet, and we'll see when we get there. My next steps now is to complete the essential cataloging of the various assemblies. And again, take note that I did not break everything down to its finest element. And what I had to take apart to get the machine apart, I tried to put back together, such as the rear hub. You'll notice right here, I put everything back together. The steering stem, I pretty much put everything back together except the bearings, of course. I try to keep assemblies together, and then later on, when I get to that component where I need to take it apart, such as for chrome or paint, then I will spend more time documenting its condition and photographing it further, though I did take a lot of photographs here as I went, took dozens of them. But I will complete the documentation as I complete the further disassembly as I get to that unit. Right now, nothing's really going to be broken down any further than what it is, but it will be further documented, and I have a little more organizing to do, such as the hardware, the nuts and washers for the rear shocks. I have to get those tagged and bagged, etc. And of course, the bearings for the steering stem here I won't leave loose. I'll clean those, get all the grease off them, and bag and tag those. And then I'll start creating a spreadsheet and determining what parts I need to replate, repurchase, buy good used. There's not a lot, I don't think I noticed, that's going to have to be replaced, though certainly everything's going to have to be refinished in some form or the other, whether it's chrome or paint or whatever. So that's really my next steps in terms of in the near term. I think what I'm going to do here is, as I alluded to in the first of this two-part series, I'm going to deal with the black painted parts first, that being the frame and the swing arm, the steering stem, the foot pegs, kickstart, or rather the side stand, etc., because those will have to go off to be powder coated. I don't know if there's anything in here I have to worry about in terms of painting myself outside. I still have a little time left, but the window's closing on being able to paint outside. I think most of this I will be able to deal with through powder coating. The wheels and tires I have to inspect, of course, down here. One thing I did quickly discover the other day is those rims, and I think even the spokes, are still available from Suzuki. New, not NOS, they're brand new, and you can buy them for a lot less money than I could spending money to re-chrome these. At my initial blush, I think I can buy just new if I need to. Certainly the tires, both these tires are going to be replaced. I think the front fork tubes or sliders are okay, etc. But there's a lot more detail like that I want to go into in the next video that we'll be putting together here in the next week or so, I think. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. Again, I just tried to depict or share with you my approach to breaking down a project. If there's one theme I want you to walk away with, is don't break it down into all its finest elements initially, and you'll have hardware, nuts, bolts, screws, washers all over the place, and it's hard to keep track of. I only break down assemblies as I need to, and then I catalog them and document them thoroughly as I go, so it's much easier months from now when I go to put everything back together. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.